Thank you very much. And dear Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Jassim Al-Budaiwi, Honorable Patricia Scotland, dear Abdulaziz Sagar, dear Professor Cardwell, and dear friends. It's such a great pleasure to share with you today the privilege of opening here in Cambridge the 14th annual meeting of the Gulf Research Centre. The UK is going through significant changes in political leadership. The same is happening on the continent after the June elections for the European Parliament and the transition to a new EU institutional leadership. Presidential elections are coming in the US, and the whole world around us is fundamentally transforming. It looks way too different from such a peaceful and inspiring setting such as here at the Cambridge University. So let me first of all warmly thank our good friend Dr. Sagar, dear Abdulaziz, and the Gulf Research Center for bringing us here in this quiet environment, creating this protected space for reflection, debate, and dialogue. We are too often hijacked by the political and diplomatic urgencies of the moment, and it is always fundamental for the quality of our diplomatic decisions to have the strength to take a step back, looking at the wider picture. And this is why it is so precious to have such a great board and expertise for understanding the further developments on the relationship between the European Union and the Gulf. It is more than 1 year now since I started my mandate as the first ever European Union Special Representative for the Gulf region. And I'm very optimistic about the overall trajectory of the emerging EU-GCC strategic partnership. It has the immense potential to generate trust and solutions for the sustainable peace and prosperity in our two regions. We achieved already some encouraging results at the bilateral level over the last few months. Harmonizing Schengen visa regimes to 5 years for all the GCC countries concerned, launching the first EU-GCC structured security dialogue at senior officials level, inaugurating the first European Chamber of Commerce in the region, and bringing together for the first time young diplomats from EU and GCC countries in a dedicated joint diplomatic training and leadership program. I was particularly happy and privileged to facilitate on behalf of the European member states and the High Representative Borrell the first EU-GCC high-level forum on regional security and cooperation in Luxembourg at the level of EU and GCC foreign ministers on April 22nd. The idea was to create a protected space for informal and open discussions between our foreign ministers. It is a unique exercise for the EU, and this already shows how far we came in the EU-GCC relation. The maturity to discuss frankly our shared understanding as well as our differences makes us stronger. And I can certainly confirm how much strategic convergence we currently see between our member states when it comes to the regional security issues. I attended the presentation of the first GCC vision on regional security in Riyadh back in March by the GCC Secretary General and the representatives of the GCC countries. I cannot express how impressed I was to see once again how much EU and GCC shared the very same principles for a new logic of regional security and cooperation in the Gulf, including territorial integrity or good neighborly relations. The various regional normalization processes initiated in the last years by our GCC friends are the best evidence of how serious they are about their ambition for a sustainable peace in the region. And we, as European Union, are fully supportive of their visionary endeavors. But our challenge is to catalyze this principled and strategic political convergence into concrete actions that are able to save innocent lives, preventing war, bringing about sustainable diplomatic solution for lasting peace. It was already mentioned even by His Highness Prince Faisal, the human tragedy of October 7 terrorist attack and of the ensuing war in Gaza. There are different views on how to address the Gaza crisis, not only between the EU and the GCC, but also within each of the two blocs. However, we have the same goals: to immediately stop the loss of lives and humanitarian tragedy, including all the hostages, to make irreversible progress towards a two-state solution as the only sustainable political solution that prevents such tragic events, and to prevent the very serious risks of a regional military escalation. Iran's direct and open attack against Israel back in April gave us a clear sense of how rapidly things could unfold in the most unpredictable way. And this is why we need to use all our diplomatic channels with Israel, but also with Iran, to prevent further escalation at the Israel-Lebanon border. EU and GCC see eye to eye also on the need to prevent the risks of a nuclear arms race in the region, on the peace process in Yemen, and the need to safeguard freedom of navigation. Threats and attacks on international navigation and maritime security are unacceptable, whether in the Arabian Gulf or in the Red Sea. In this difficult context, the EU is defending the freedom of navigation by deploying its new defensive maritime operation, EUNAVFOR Aspides, in international waters of the Red Sea. As the operation is entering its 4th month since its launch, it has provided close protection to more than 160 merchant vessels and neutralized 14 drones and 4 missiles launched by Houthis. Aspides and similar missions in the region may not provide the long-term solution, as long as Houthis are regularly being supplied with weapons. We therefore need to do more to prevent smuggling of weapons and to seriously strengthen the implementation of the UN verification and inspection mechanism for Yemen. All the above has to be complemented and reinforced by the ongoing diplomatic efforts on Yemen, including under the UN stewardship. Lastly, let me also refer to the EU-GCC converging path towards peace in Ukraine. The GCC countries have been instrumental in successfully mediating the return of an increasing number of Ukrainian children out of thousands illegally held by Russian authorities. They have been playing a key role in the latest peace formula meetings, and we encourage the same positive contributions following the recent peace summit in Switzerland. My dear friends, all this historic and unfolding crisis managed to bring EU and GCC closer together than ever before. I mentioned at the beginning that in this challenging regional context, we have the shared responsibility to reinforce the fundamentals of our EU-GCC partnership as an essential pillar of regional stability around trade, investment, connectivity, and new technologies, around cooperation on energy security, climate change and green transition, and last but not least, by facilitating people-to-people contacts. It is people that connect all the threads of our cooperation, and I strongly believe in the transformative power of our human bonds. This is also why we are here today. Our people and our two regions need each other more than ever. This is why we are working very closely with the GCC Secretary General, with the Qatari Presidency, and with all the GCC member states for the prospect of upcoming high-level meetings, including a possible, inshallah, first ever EU-GCC summit later this year. This would be a milestone of our EU-GCC strategic partnership, which has become absolutely essential for our shared security and prosperity, but also for the regional and global stability. Thank you very much for your attention.